It's been nearly a year since the deadly insurrection at the US Capitol, an attempt to overturn the 2020 election results that made Joe Biden the 46th president of the United States. Hundreds of rioters and demonstrators have now been arrested. Some are already in prison, and now a growing congressional investigation is focusing on the communications between the politicians and the Trump White House, who are accused of encouraging and even instigating the January 6th insurrection.
I will read a few of them. Mark, one member said, he needs to stop this now. In all caps, tell them to go home. POTUS has to come out firmly and tell the protesters to dissipate. Someone is going to get killed.
Liz Cheney, an arch-conservative who rejected the Republic that aided former President Trump's efforts to overturn his election loss, recently read text messages to Mark Meadows, then the White House chief of staff, from Trump family members and as yet unidentified lawmakers and personalities from conservative news network Fox News. Despite their on-air support for former President Trump's false allegations of election fraud, their communications on that fateful day showed deep anxiety at the violence and repeated calls for Trump to make a public statement calling off the rioters, something he resisted for hours, despite deaths and threats to kill members of Congress and even his own vice president.
Mr. Meadows received numerous text messages which he has produced without any privilege claim, imploring that Mr. Trump take the specific action we all know his duty required. Indeed, some of those text messages, Madam Speaker, came from members in the chamber right now.
Former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows has now stopped cooperating with congressional investigators and is facing criminal contempt charges, along with former White House advisor and prominent right-wing media figure Steve Bannon. Investigators haven't ruled out calling former President Trump to testify. A year on, and the investigation into the day US democracy nearly died is far from over. We at CGTN will never forget the events of January 6th. I myself had to flee the mob just over here as they smashed up our camera position. All teams, both English and Mandarin, continue to work tirelessly despite the risks to their personal safety. And our newsroom backed us up every step of the way to report on one of the biggest stories in US history. Nathan King, CGTN at the US Capitol.